Hello, and welcome to Owning It, the podcast that celebrates the inspiring choices made by women who refuse to simply follow the crowd and chose the road less traveled. I'm your host, Sandhya Thukaram, and in each episode, we'll have real conversations with these incredible women who choose to carve their own path because following just isn't an option. They may not be making headlines, but every one of them is a role model. So join me and let's explore the power of choice and the inspiration it brings right here on Owning It. In the latest episode of Owning It, I spoke with Bindu Vinodhan, the visionary behind Mauna Dhwani. Bindu's journey is inspirational. She transitioned from a lucrative career driven by a desire to find her true purpose. She has used her voice to enable many others to find theirs. Listen to her powerful story and be inspired right here on Owning It. Bindu, hi. Thanks for joining me on Owning It. Bindu, I can't wait to unravel the many things you've done, the many amazing choices you've made. But I want to start with what you're doing now. Let's start with what Bindu Vinodhan is doing at this point.
Yes, lovely to be here, Sandhya. It's lovely today to speak to you about what I'm doing. So, currently, Sandhya, I'm running this NGO uh, in Mayurbhanj district of Odisha. It's at the border of Odisha and Jharkhand. So, I'm running this foundation here. I started about 6 years ago. I work with the Santhal tribal women and also women from other marginalized sections, specifically those that are marginalized by caste and economic factors. So that's the group I'm working with. I work with women. I spend about 10 to 12 days of my month with the tribal women in the village, and the remaining time I live in the city. In the city, I run a consulting firm, and the revenue that comes from there directly goes to support my NGO. So I live two lives, one in the city working with corporates, and that's my funding for the NGO. It's a self funded NGO along with many friends and now co travelers in this journey. When I started, I felt I was all alone, but miraculously, the journey has been a revelation for me in terms of how much support you can get when you are going in a direction that resonates with a lot of people. So, I've learned to ask for help in these last few years, which is very new to me. But when I did it, it's brought in tremendous impact. And so now that's the journey that I'm living right now, and that's the path I'm on right now.
Lovely. Two things you said resonated, Bindu. One is I believe journeys attract the exact fellow travelers you need. We don't sometimes always understand it. We don't know how it's going to happen. But when you're on a particular path, I'm always amazed how the exact cast of characters to travel with you appear, good, bad, and ugly. But it's almost magical how that happens. And the other thing you said, which I've learned too, Bindu, is asking for help is a good thing. It's a
Yes,
lack of ego because it means your purpose is bigger than you.
right.
I think a lot of times we make asking for help about us, but it's
Yeah.
actually asking for what needs to be done. And so I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Uh, Bindu, love the journey you're on, but I like to start where people start. If I'd met you at age 10, would Bindu have been this person? Tell me about Bindu at 10.
We lived in Bombay. My father came to Bombay and started working when he was very young, and so we were born and brought up in Bombay. I remember from the time I was very little that the doors of my house was always open, and my father welcomed people who were in distress, and a lot of people came to Bombay to for a job on those days, and so they either lost their luggage or they couldn't find the person or they were cheated or things like that, and my uh, house doors were always open. So my father was a person whose heart and whose home was open to people who needed help. During the holidays or during weekdays, the days that we were off from school, he would take us to places where people needed help. We visited orphanages. So I grew up with a father who said that if you know, you should teach, and if you have, you should give. So it just became part of our lives, though it was not very easy for my family, and we were also going through life, and my mother's like, all the time we are feeding people. At least give me a warning, yeah. So I think that the first seeds were there, and we come from a matriarchal kind of society where women have a lot of power, but we grew up in the northern and yeah, places where it's very patriarchal. So my father always brought us three sisters to have our own space, to have our own voice. And I always feel that that foundation, to have my own voice, it is a privilege and it's a blessing to have, and not everybody has that. They don't even have their own voice. And to have that from a very young age, and to be pushed towards what I dreamt of and wanted to do and supported at every step, that's a blessing that I have, both with my father and now with my husband. I realize that there are not many women who have that. In fact, very few women who have that. And so, therefore, it becomes even more important for me to be on this journey and make sure that it's happening, and people who don't have that support get that, because I took it for granted. So at age 10, I was this, I want to conquer the world. I want to change everything about the world. And then I had an eager father who was listening to all of the stories and telling me it's all possible. So you never know, that gives the inner strength,
Yeah.
that I'm holding on to.
How did you start flexing this voice, this privilege? Like you said, I agree, very few of us have that. But at 10, you didn't know it. In hindsight, you realize it. But
Yes.
what about early adulthood? Did you start consciously flexing that voice and the platform?
My father always, and my family, they my sisters, all of us, what we liked was important for the home. Like, I love to dance, and so I continued with learning. My father spent a lot of time and effort in making sure that I do that. And he was the only father where we used to go for dance performances, and all the mothers are there, and this is a father who has a checklist of a process map of how the all the ornaments need to be put, and how we all have dreams, and having a place where our dreams are voiced out, that's the place that we need. And then when you voice it out, you know that, that's, yeah, I really want that. So it brings that validation again, and somebody listening to you and saying that, you know what, it's actually possible, again validates that, and you move forward so courageously. So having those years, having that space to be able to do that, came in early. Now in hindsight, when I look back, so whatever I wanted to do, whatever dreams I had, I could pursue it. So I think that background helped me in voicing it, even till today. But today I am more vociferous than what I was. The last 6 years has given me a new kind of courage that I never knew I had. It was latent. In the corporate, you play it safe a bit, I feel. And yeah, but here I am my most courageous self, and so I feel very, very happy at the space that I am right now in.
Yeah, lovely. A lot of what you're saying continues to resonate. I feel similar paths in the sense I was also enabled to just say what I want. I wouldn't say enabled. It was what I knew, like you, right? However, in hindsight, again, I still feel each of us makes certain choices because there's so
Yes.
much implicit bias. I always felt, oh, you know what? My life has been so charmed. I've been really lucky and I've had the best platform. Until a few years ago, Bindu, and I said, if I keep saying that, I'm actually being untrue to the implicit biases that exist and
Yes.
then holds women back. And it's forced
Yes.
me to ask about things, even if they seemed seamless and amazing, that could have been better.
for me
Yeah.
as a woman.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to push these conversations beyond what you're saying,
Yeah.
because even in corporations I've been given amazing opportunities. I've gone in, I've wanted a job, almost got it. Till I look back and I said, no, actually, if it was weighed against some things there, or a man, uh, or maybe I would have done better, you know. And so
Absolutely.
that's why I like
Absolutely.
to articulate it, because otherwise being comfortable with status quo is also being part of that,
Yeah. Yeah.
propagating those implicit biases. So question to
Yes.
you, or maybe if we can think together, reflect together, if you looked
Yes.
back with what you know now, do you feel there were choices you made consciously that helped you get onto this path that you're on, where you found absolute courage?
Yes, every step in every place, Like, for example, I started in an engineering college where we were a handful of girls and hundreds of boys in a class, where you start out with certain subjects are girl subjects and certain subjects, even in engineering, okay. If you do computers, you're safe, but you can't do the other ones. So every step which you take, which is slightly different from the norm, there are challenges that come in. And for me, it has been okay. So I have to prove myself even more. And right now, I feel, was there a need? I mean, shouldn't it all be equitable? Shouldn't there be an equal opportunity? But like when I reflect and look back, I had tremendous support within my family. So I was able to fight it while I was doing my master's at Oxford. Um, there were days when I felt that, yes, uh, the color of my skin, the way I speak, where I come from is making a difference. But somewhere there are angels in your life that come in. I always believe that, if you are on a path, there are people who come in and you seek help. And Professor Davis was one of those for me, where he said, you don't look around, just do what you need to do, don't look around. Yeah, you're not competing with the world, this is your journey, just be focused on what you're doing. So there were days when I would come back and say, somebody said this, but he kept me going, saying that, just focus on what you need to do and what brings you happiness, just focus on that. Many days when there were tears, there was frustration, but I chose, I can go with all that negativity, or I can just go towards my dreams, and the energy comes from there. So focusing on and celebrating the positive allowed me to take care and have the energy to face what was not going right. The initial days were tough for me, even in corporate. So you are in a room where initially, because my background is technology, women in technology are few. And also, then I took up human resources. Again, there were not a lot of women, but saying that I can either focus on all of that boy band or a boy gang, as you call it, you can and say, oh, that is why I'm not getting anything. It's very easy to say that. For me, it was about that competence, developing that constant learning to make sure that, I was really worthy of that place. Because many of us women, we have that, I mean, I'm the only one here. Am I really supposed to be here? It may creep up. But like, I just wanted to be so good at what I do that I was on a constant learning mode. Even now, more than 2, 3 courses I will definitely take in a year, because I need to say that, okay, that gives me confidence. For me as a person, knowing gives me confidence. I'm in a sector, when I started out in the social space, people said, you don't know anything about this space. Yeah. There are people who are veterans who have trained for years. They are in this space and they're not succeeding in many places. So almost like, what right do you have to walk on this path? You come from a very privileged background that was also used against you, because you're not carrying the jhola, you're not carrying, you're not looking a certain way. But so what right do you have? So it is about saying, okay, I will learn this so well, I will just put my heart and soul into it, and I will try, let's see what happens. So there is negativity, I feel, everywhere, but focusing on the light allows me to fix all of this which is there around, which we need to fix. There are conversations we need to have. I didn't have so many of those while I was in corporate, but I have a lot of it now. A lot of it now about privilege, about voice, all of those conversations the last 6 years. I feel I started out to give a voice, and I am the one who got the voice. People ask me, "Oh, you're doing so much there." I was like, "No, no, no." The amount I have got, and I have learned, and I have found myself. I believe in rebirth. I don't know how many lives I have to live to pay all of that back, but the learning has been mine. The journey has been, for me, uh, immense transformation, personal transformation has come about through this journey. Yes.
Amazing. What stayed is focus on the light and be so good that your place is never questioned, right? And also what you said was, while it looked like you were lending the voice to someone else or offering a platform for a voice, it's you who actually found your voice. um, Bindu, I want to spend the next bit of our conversation really now on this part of your journey, where you found your voice, where you will require many lifetimes for you to pay back the debt of the experience, if I understood right.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
how did you go from being someone who had a good corporate job, which is a comfortable life, to finding this purpose that's taken a lot of you and brings you so much joy?
I feel that the epiphany moments, they just come in, and I feel there are always signals that come in, and it's up to you whether you choose to listen or not. For me, mine came on a stage when I was going to receive an award on behalf of my company. I was in a beautiful place. I was at Florida Disney World on a big stage with all lights and everything. And then I stood there carrying the award, thinking, this is the biggest moment of my life. And I went absolutely blank and I didn't feel anything. And I'm thinking I'm supposed to feel very happy at this point of time, but I just went blank. I came off stage and I called up because there was a time difference. I called up home and I said, I'm not feeling anything. It's just blank. And the voice actually is this it? This is all about me and my ego and all of that. Is this what I'm pursuing? And that question came in big time. My family said, no, you're just too happy, that is why you're blank. Just give it a day and you will be fine. But I knew that night that I there was something more for me. So I came back and I resigned to the horror of everybody. And everybody said, just go for go for a cruise for the next 6 months and just get your head sorted. But first time my head was sorted. So I said, there is no going back. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to see what I can do. And 6 months it took for me to hand over. And after that, I started my own consulting firm because it was important for me to feel independent and have the money coming in. And I started that. And in parallel, I supported another NGO for a year to help them run a program for the commercial sex workers and to bring them back as entrepreneurs. I did it for a year and I thought, I was a bit disillusioned by the way it was run. And I said, if I can run my own consulting firm, I can run. A foundation as well. So I registered my foundation. I wrote a proposal because working with commercial sex workers is the only thing I knew. And I took the proposal to then National Commission of Women, Annie Raja. She saw it and she said, Bindu, this is great, but why why don't you think of the tribal and Dalit population? Because there are a lot of these women and not much is being done in that area. And I said, I don't know anything about this area. So she said, use the next few months to find out. And that's how it started, Sandhya. So I researched, I read, I went and looked. And then my heart was just like telling me, my God, this is it. There are many nights I have cried and got emotional with the stories because it affected me in some way. And then I just went on to Google, looked at the below poverty tribal villages in India, bottom five. And through a friend, I wrote to many NGOs in those villages. And that's when I got a reply from this little village, Gobind, who had just, he's the pass out from TIS, and he had come back to his village, given up his UN job, and started this small foundation in the village. We exchanged notes, and he was very curious. He just replied, nobody else replied other than Gobind, because some madam from Bangalore wants to do social work. Nobody is very interested or keen, and nobody knows whether I'm serious. So Gobind asked me to, why don't you come and visit? And I visited, didn't expect me to. I landed there in the village, and I knew this was it. This was it, because everything that you can tick on the box and what can go wrong in a place, right from severe malnourishment, no access to healthcare, no access to water, education issues, poverty to the extent that there is no food even for one time a day. Like everything that you can tick on the box was there in that village. And if I had to make a change, it's not in a place where which is most convenient to me, but I wanted to do it in a place which really needs it. And so that's where I went, and that's where I started. Initial 2 years were very tough, because I was this outsider coming in. So I had to learn the language, keep living there 10 days a month and coming back. And that's how it started, Sandhya. And now it's 6 years. And from 8 women in a livestock shed that was given to us by one of the villagers, where we put up looms, we are now close to 600 women across 40 villages and have 12 centers where women are learning, training, doing all of that. So for me, it's been that kind of journey the last 6 years. But we have a long way to go.
Yeah, but Bindu, even as I heard you speak about it, you focus more on the light, and I appreciate that. But I always think about people listening to this conversation, who, when they take
Yes.
away anything, must understand that these some things are not easy. Were there days when you wanted to give up? Was your purpose so clear that you were willing to face what came up? Share some of it.
Every day I wanted to give up, Sandhya. Every day. There has not been a day where there has not been an incident which has told me that it is so tough. Like nothing has happened in that part of the world, because it is a tough place. But for me, the first 6 months was okay. It's going to be tough. I know that. Let me just keep going there. Let me just meeting. But it just got tougher and tougher, and fear started creeping in, Sandhya. Fear for my own life, fear for fear of failure. I've not experienced too much of that in my life, and so I'm not very good at it. When people don't connect with you and relationships don't happen, which was very easy for me earlier. Here there is a language barrier, there's so many barriers. I'm an outsider in all ways. But there was a day when it all changed, Sandhya. I'll tell you about it. We had set up the center. The women were coming in, lot of opposition. And then one day, two men came from the other side of the village where the upper caste and all of them stay. It is even separated by distance so that they don't want to interact at all. So they came here, and they were anyways angry with me because they thought she eats from here, she's a Maoist. I had been taken to the police station and all of that. But they came here and they looked at the women and said, just because you're doing all this, don't think you're too great. You're still the dust beneath my foot. And they went towards the women to attack them. And the women, for the first time, I don't know in how many years, took out their brooms and slippers and chased the men out of the village and said, no longer, no longer. And my body, my being is mine. No longer do you have access to anything. For me, it was my biggest victory. It was a validation day for me, but it triggered off a lot of things in the village. And so I found myself standing one day, surrounded, me and my team members, surrounded by a group of people, angry. They had things in their hands, and all of them, about 50, 60 of them. Sandhya, I'm 5 foot nothing, and I'm just standing there looking at this big crowd. And in corporate, you teach many people many lessons, right? You tell them how to be this. And I said, Bindu, all that gyan you gave people for all your life, because I'm in learning and development, I was in that space. I stood there and I didn't know, Sandhya, whether I would live to tell the story or what would happen. I didn't know. This just set of angry people. And suddenly, Gauri is one of the girls, one of the tribal girls, who's working in our center. She came, she was standing behind me. She kept her hand on my back, you know. Now, in that, it is in their way of saying,
I got your back.
I'm yours, you're mine. And within a few seconds, Sandhya, my whole back was covered with hands. And I just stood there with feeling the presence of my soul sisters, and a switch went off in my brain, which said, You think you're alone? You're not alone. You have so many people with you. It is not your journey, it is a collective journey. And when I learned that day to hold the hands of my sisters and walk ahead, the power that came in, I just don't know fear after that, Sandhya. I'm not scared of anything. And my family is like very scared. They are like, you should be scared of something. I just felt I learned the biggest lesson of my life, that you are here on this planet, you're part of a social, you're a social being, and we learn and we grow from the energy of people who are with us. We were never meant to be alone, and that was a misconception that I had from very young. I had to do it alone, I have to fight this battle. And now no more. We have to stand with people who resonate with our energy, and we all together can go a long way and fulfill ours and each other's dream. We are meant to do that. And so that's been my biggest learning over the last 6 years.
Amazing. Power of the collective. It is really powerful listening to you. So I don't want to respond immediately to that, because when you listen to something that's so powerful, you must allow it to just be and not feel the need to respond, because otherwise anything I say now about what you said will sound cliched. So I'm going to leave that, and keep thinking about it. And anybody listening, I'm sure, will think about this. I want to move from what you just said, Bindu, to what I know you said. For you right now, you have absolute courage, there's no fear. What does that mean for you in the future? What would you like the next 5 years to be like for Bindu, a part of this collective?
I'm in a hurry because you have that many healthy years, right? And there is so much more work to be done. I realized that I was dreaming small, and I'm telling people, dream big, manifest your big dreams. And then I'm thinking, oh, okay, oh, another center, should I just, do that? So my dreams are more than 1 lakh women we need to touch in the next 5 years. And I'm going to do everything along with our team to try and make that dream happen. But it cannot be me. And that means that we have to develop the next set of leaders. And so we have developed a leadership program. It is a 450 hours leadership program for women leaders within the community. In many ways, we are breaking a tough glass ceiling, because women, first of all, in handloom, they are not recognized. Being weavers itself, they are not recognized. They are very good at helping the men, doing all the ancillary work, and doing more than 50% of the work, but getting zero credit. So women in handloom, first of all, is new. And second, women leaders in handloom who will take on two trajectories. One, either be the head of the centers of the production units, or be master trainers who will train others. There are no such people within. I don't know about other states, but in Odisha it's not there. And I am finding out from other places also, women leadership in handloom and running a production center and teaching other people how to weave. We don't have. So I believe that, we need to create a set of 500 women who will lead and take care of this organization in the next 5 years. That's our goal, and I'm hoping that we will do it. Many organizations now, reputed organizations, are coming to us and asking us for our prototype. It's the first time such a thing is happening for us, and we are saying, really, you want to know what worked? Some premier institutions have come in and asked us, can we do a collaboration, and can you help us do it in other tribal areas in other parts of India? So I think we have started a movement, but again and again and again, it's just a few drops in the ocean, and a lot more needs to be done. Really looking for people to walk along this journey together, because there are millions of women who need to find their voice and to manifest their dreams. And I think those of us who have been able to find our own little dreams, just by standing next to them, we can ignite that in them. So that's our vision for the next 5 years.
I can only say it'll be amazing, and I have no doubt with your passion and your sense of purpose. And I don't use the word, anyone who knows me will say I don't like the word passion because it's used lightly, but in your case, it's the right word. I have no doubt that your vision will come true. My last question, Bindu, and I don't mean for it to be trivial, but again, I'm conscious that the conversations I have are with people, and of course the purpose is part of them. But what has this meant for your personal life?
So, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I'm a daughter. My mother lives with me as well after my father passed away. So I have a lot of responsibilities. My sister is nearby, and we are all very close family. And so there's a lot of family and all of that going. But it's that conversation that we need to have at home, right? And that support that you get being in that present moment, it's been very difficult because it is so diverse, isn't it? I know that my family has taken a lot of beating, they have sacrificed a lot, but that's the support that they have given me, and I do my best to support what they have as well. This being in 3 4 places at one time never worked for me at all, and so I found that, that's the best thing to do. Wherever I am there fully, like 200% there. And when I'm there, then I'm able to give my full self to that moment, and so that's what I have decided to do, and it's working well for me, though social life takes a beating because you can't visit and can't meet friends that much. But when I'm there with them and when I'm talking to them, I'm fully there with them. So then that those bonds still exist because of that. Yeah, so that's
Thank
how I balance. And also I have a very very supportive help system at home, and there are 2 or 3 girls who are like, they're part of my family and they are with me, they look after my family, and I wouldn't be able to do anything if they weren't taking care of the house, that in like fully. So they are there, and I treat them as part of the family, and they are my family, like one of them is getting married, so we are all very excited, like her getting all her shopping done and everything. So I feel that I ask for help and they help me when they need help. you know uh, I help them. So I think those kind of relationships keeps the house going.
Thank you. I did want to touch on that because, again, like I said, I'm always conscious through these conversations that people understand making choices means many aspects, and it's not just one thing. And you ended with a very important message. The only way you can do it is if you're focused and understand when you're here, and when you're at the other place, you're there fully present and being in the moment and not being conflicted, and therefore being able to do as much as you can. Thank you, Bindu. More power to you, and keep owning it. Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you, Sandhya. It was absolute delight.
Thank you for joining us on Owning It. With every conversation with women who are taking control of their narrative, I'm constantly inspired. Don't forget to tune into the next conversation with yet another woman choosing her own path and owning it.